Is Wolverine's clone, X-23, just a copy of Wolverine in Marvel Champions? Let's find out. That was super clickbaity, I'm sorry. Welcome to Nelson All Over Cards. My name's Nelson, and today we're taking a deep dive look into X-23, one of the newest heroes in Marvel Champions. Now, X-23, I'll just go ahead and dispel that she's not like Wolverine. She has some interesting mechanics that are similar to what Wolverine is, but she is her own hero. But in this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking through her cards, kind of what she does, her whole idea behind her hero kit. We're going to talk about her cost curve. We're going to talk about some aspects from what she's best at, and then we're going to rank her in the overall ranking of all of our Marvel Champions heroes. Now, this is going to be primarily a solo review. One hero, we're only talking about X-23. However, at the very end of the video, we're going to be talking about some multiplayer thoughts, how she's going to shake up her game when she's sitting down at the table with more than one hero at the table. All of this is going to have timestamps, so if you're curious about one specific section, jump to that section. There you go. They should be down in like the bar, and if they're not, something went wrong. Anyways, let's talk about her alter ego. So Laura Kinney, I probably should have looked that up before I started the video. Laura Kinney has a 6 recovery, which is, used to be one of the highest, but now we have 8 with Deadpool. But 6 recovery, 10 HP. She has a setup ability to put her claws into play, which, again, very similar to Wolverine, right? No, just, her claws are different, but we'll talk about her claws here in a second. And she has an action on her alter ego ability to shuffle either Honey Badger or her Sisterly Bond event from their discard into your deck and draw a card. These are some really solid cards that you're gonna want to be playing fairly frequently, so this is a great way to make sure that you can draw them more frequently, get them to the table more often, and not to mention this is just another way to get another card into your hand. So if you have one of these cards in your discard pile that's 6 hand size on alter ego, now it kind of looks like a 7, which is not too shabby. When you flip her card over, Laura turns into X-23, who's a hero with a 2/1/2 stat line, which is not great, but don't worry, she's fine. 5 hand size. She has a living weapon ability, which says once per round, whenever you take, or once per phase, I'm sorry, it is once per phase, which is very, very important. Whenever you take any damage, you get to ready her. Now, this is where we start to get a little crazy. Since this is once per phase, I'm pretty much defending every single round. It's almost like Quicksilver. You get almost a free defend, because almost every villain will hit with 3 or more, especially an expert, which means that you're basically getting a free reduction of 2 damage each round. So if you defend, the villain comes at you for 4, you're taking 2 damage, but you also get to stand up, meaning that you can utilize your basic activation during the player phase coming next. But also, she has ways to damage herself in the hero phase. There are a couple aspect cards that allow you to do this, but her kit is pretty much self-contained in the sense that she can damage herself to get that free ready. The easiest, first way, told you we're going to come back to it, are her claws. So these were those claws that were put into play at the start of the game. She can take 2 damage. Note that you cannot block this. You can't sink this into a tough, because it is take damage, and with the take deal ruling, you do need to actually take all of the 2 damage. You can't negate that anyway, but you do get +2 attack until the end of the round. Now, this also is important, is it's until the end of the round, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the protection section, but just remember that she gets that +2 attack bonus until the end of the round. So now she's ready, and she's sporting a 2/3/2 stat line, which is now we're talking, right? We got 2/3/2. So a couple of kind of plays that I see myself doing pretty frequently. Solo, thwart for 2, you're exhausted. You can use your claws to stand up and attack for 3. That's very, very good value right there. You've taken 2 damage, 2 threat reduction, +3 damage, you're really good. Or if you can take damage another way, like through aspect cards, or even better, Grim Resolve, which is one of her upgrades, which you can take a damage to generate a wild resource, you can use your claws first. You can attack, Grim Resolve, take the damage, generate a wild resource, pay for whatever card you want to, stand up and attack again. So that's 2 iterations of attack for 6 damage, because you took that clause and you get 2 activations there. It is so powerful, and it is incredible momentum. Her tempo is very, very, very good. She does not need to set up too much to have a huge impact on the game. One thing I do want to note before we talk about even more of her cards is to rewind a little bit and talk about Grim Resolve. Just mention that it's an action. It is not a hero action, which means that you can use it in Alter Ego. So if you're not planning to use it to stand up, you can use it in Alter Ego before like a recovery to get kind of like a free resource there. This is something you cannot do with its aspect like counterpart Clarity of Purpose, where Clarity of Purpose is a hero action. Grim Resolve is not. That's something that I actually did not catch, and somebody on my stream pointed that out. So it is really nice to have the flexibility to use that in Alter Ego. You won't get the ready, but like if you have 5 sustained damage and you're gonna recover regardless, you might as well use it and get that free resource. But anyways, back to our regular scheduled insanity with Laura. She can attack for 6, but she also has 3 copies of Claw Mastery. This is a 1-cost event, so you can only play 1 of these per round to get +2 attack until the end of the round. She also gets Overkill while Honey Badger is in play. Honey Badger is her signature ally. We're going to talk about Honey Badger a little bit later in the video, but I would kind of want to focus on Claw Mastery here. +2 attack until the end of the round. In the round, again, important, we're looking at a 2-5-2 all the way through. So, I guess, spoiler alert, Counterpunch is really good with her. And so that's why I keep saying until the end of the round is so important, is you can use Counterpunch. And if you can figure out how to utilize her attack stat in the villain phase, she gets all of these boons during that phase as well. So if we're using our trick from earlier, it's not that much setup for 10 damage. She's explosive, she's fast, she's good. And if you're worried about like tough statuses blocking all of your pumped up attacks, leave your fears at the door, because she has an incredibly efficient 1-cost upgrade called Adamantium Lacing. This gives her +2 hit points, Retaliate 1, which is great because again, we're probably defending every single round because we get that free ready, so that Retaliate 1 will trigger very, very frequently, and her basic attacks gain piercing, which is, if I say that's good, that's understating it. This is an incredibly efficient card, 1-cost upgrade to get all of this, plus just ignoring tough status cards for your basic attacks, which is where most of your damage is going to be coming from with Lara. Awesome. And she can handle threat as well. She has 2 copies of Animal Instincts, which states that when she thwarts, she gets +X to her thwart, where X is equal to her attack. This is a 0-cost event, so this is pretty good value at just the 3. If we haven't even used Claw Mastery, we've just used our Claw to pump our attack up to 3, we can kind of look at this and evaluate this as like 1 effective resource, the card for 3 thwart, which is over the efficiency curve. There's more that goes into it, but that's kind of how I like to think about it. And if you consider this at 5 attack with the Claw Master, you're thwarting for like 7 on a basic activation, which is crazy and overkill in a lot of solo scenarios, but it's flexible, and that's another key tenet of what X-23 and why she's so good is that she can throw damage, she can throw thwart, she is flexible, she can fit the problem, she can find the solution to the problem that is being presented to you. Now, I was a bit nervous about her needing to take damage to trigger a lot of her powerful abilities, but I should not have worried too much because she has a few fixes in her kit. The first one up that I want to talk about is Pain Tolerance. This is one of her most expensive cards at 2. It says that whenever she plays a X-23 card, she gets to heal 1. This is really, really good, especially when you consider the fact that she has the lowest cost curve in the game, meaning that it's super easy to trigger this card multiple times each round. So every single time she's playing an X-23 card, she gets to heal, and she's going to be doing a lot of that. And if that was not enough healing, she has 2 copies of Regenerative Longevity, which is a 1-cost event that says to heal 4 damage split between you and Honey Badger. Now this is where I want to start talking about Honey Badger, and I wanted to hold Honey Badger kind of to the end of the discussion about her kits, because when I first saw the article talking about X-23, I was a little concerned about how much she would rely on Honey Badger, and if Honey Badger wasn't on the table, how viable is she going to be? Is that going to be an issue? But honestly, that's not even like close to being true. Everything before this point in the video, we're talking about a really strong hero, and we haven't even touched on Honey Badger yet. Honey Badger is good. Honey Badger is fantastic for Laura, but she does not need Honey Badger to thrive. So let's just talk about Honey Badger. 2-cost signature ally, 1/1/2, which is not awful. 2 cost is really good. But after Honey Badger takes any amount of damage, we get to ready X-23. This is really solid because, again, if we're at that 5 attack, we get to swing again. So just, yeah, it's dumb. It's really good. Now, how to optimize this is where the fun, at least for me, comes in to play with X-23. Because Honey Badger has a low health. She has 2 health, meaning that we can only trigger this response one time if we don't heal her or do anything with Honey Badger to up that health, because that response window after she takes damage is only after that first consequential. If she attacks when she already has the damage, she actually leaves play before we get to trigger her response to ready X-23. So we need to figure out a way to either up her health or heal her. And this is where we're going to start to blend sections and break the mold of these videos a little bit, because I want to kind of talk about some cards that can do that. I think that this is a good spot to do it, rather than trying to disjoint these and bringing this conversation back. But I want to talk about the training upgrades. It's really important to note here that Honey Badger is X-Men traded and not X-Force traded like X-23 is. So all the training upgrades, that upper health, attack training, mission training, all of these things allow us to trigger her response multiple times, as well as increase her output. So we can throw attack training, and now Honey Badger is attacking for 2, and she gets +2 hit points, meaning that she gets to activate her readying X-23 2 additional times. Also, we can now heal her with like first aids, which is something I find myself running a lot in X-23's deck, and regenerative longevity. We have X-23 on the table for a longer time, meaning that if we don't have that regenerative longevity in the hand when we need to play it, if we don't have her health pumped up, we can hang around and wait a little bit longer to hit one of those regeneratives or first aids. Honey Badger is pretty good. And as a reminder, on the alter ego side, on Laura's side, we can use her action to shuffle either Sisterly Bond or Honey Badger back into our deck. So if Honey Badger does leave play, you can put it back into your deck fairly easily and find Honey Badger quickly again. But Sisterly Bond is the other card that we can shuffle into our deck. This is a 0-cost event that states whenever Honey Badger attacks or thwarts, we get to add X-23's matching power to this use. So yeah, so now if we have 5 attack, we can have X-23 attack, Honey Badger attack, readying X-23 to attack again, and it just kind of snowballs incredibly well. I saw a meme on Reddit, actually I think it was yesterday, from Krautbammer, which was just too perfect and sums up X-23's kit really well. I'm putting that on the screen. This is not mine, this is Krautbammer's, but I just thought this was hilarious. It's like, you want to see me attack for 47? And it's like SpongeBob, running really fast, and you want to see me do it again? X-23 can throw damage. It's incredible. I've had some really, really good games with X-23 where Honey Badger doesn't even hit the table. That being said, a Voltron Honey Badger, which means that like we're putting a lot of upgrades on Honey Badger, is a viable and a fun strategy. However, it's not super fun if she's buried on the bottom of your deck, or she does have an obligation that is going to take Honey Badger away. And that's where Sisterhood comes into the picture. This is tied for her most expensive card at 2. Kind of a joke. Really low cost curve. And it's a support that says that you can exhaust it, discard an X-23 card from your hand, search for Honey Badger, and add it to your hand. So this allows you to find Honey Badger really easily. If Honey Badger is buried and you draw Sisterhood earlier, then you can have some manipulation to get Honey Badger out earlier. Or if you lose Honey Badger to a assault, indirect damage, whatever, Honey Badger goes to your discard pile, you have a couple ways to get her back. This Sisterhood or her action on her alter ego side. The last card that we're going to talk about in her kit is Puncture Wound. This is a 0-cost upgrade. We attach it to an enemy that X-23 or Honey Badger has attacked this turn. That enemy gets -1 attack. Then at the start of the player phase, they take 3 damage. This is incredibly efficient damage. One effective resource for a 3 is already really good, but then also giving them a -1 attack on top of that. And I'm kind of thinking the villain here. The villain's going to be making, attack every single round is good, especially in multiplayer. If you're running this at 4, -1, that's -4 attack for the entire table. That's incredible efficiency. So name of the game for X-23 is efficient, explosive, exciting. I need another E. When I started saying that, I didn't realize that they were all E's. But yeah, she's very, very good. Let's talk about her cost curve. And this is why I think X-23 is even better than No, no. I mean, she's really good. She has really, really cool and efficient cards, and her cost curve just helps facilitate that. She has the lowest cost curve at 0.87 cost per card. There are only 3 cards in her kit that cost more than 1, which is bonkers. She has a resource generator in her kit with Grim Resolve, and that resource generator can double as a ready every single round, which is good. And if you combine that with pain tolerance, so every single time you play one of these cheap cards, you get to heal on top of the effect of that card, you can play multiple X-23 cards every single turn and not have to worry about dumping your entire hand. She is really, really great. She can heal. She can... I mean, it's fun to either keep that cost curve really low or skew it up by adding some really high impact cards from your aspect selection. And honestly, there are decks out there, and there are viable decks because she only has, I think it was 3 2-cost cards. There are decks out there where you can keep the cost curve so low that you don't even have to run your basic doubles, which is just kind of a fun thing that you can do. Speaking of basic cards, let's kind of talk about some of the cards that I'm looking to run in every single one of my X-23 decks. First up, Mutant Education. Now, I say Mutant Education. I think I run Mutant Education in the majority of my decks. This is the alter ego action that allows you to shuffle 2 identity-specific cards back into your deck. And if X-Mansion is in play, you get to draw. I'm not usually running X-Mansion on top of this. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Just kind of depends on how long I want the game to go. But Mutant Education, being able to shuffle a couple of those cards back in, I'm thinking Animal Instinct or Claw Mastery. These cards are going to be really high impact cards on the game, and if you can trigger them multiple times per deck pass, you're going to be feeling pretty good. I want to talk about Specialized Training. I'm not going to talk about this every single time I do a review. I do think that it works in most heroes. It's the 5 threat per player basic side scheme that gives you one of those specialist cards, and every single time you use that stat, you get a plus in the stat, and you also get to draw a card. I wanted to bring it up with X-23 though, because any character that can utilize Specialized Training or like the plus stat multiple times is going to like the Specialized Training. So now she looks like a 2/2/2, and then we can add all of the bonuses outside of that. She only has 10 hit points now. While she can heal a lot, Endurance is a nice way to just increase that health pool a little bit and give us a little bit more, safety net there. And then I want to talk about Symbiote Suit. Plus 10 hit points, plus 1 to all of my stats, plus 1 hand size. I mean, Symbiote Suit, anybody who can ready multiple times is going to like Symbiote Suit, and X-23 is not an exception to that rule. For Honey Badger, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but any of the training upgrades, and these are not basic cards, but anytime I'm running in an aspect, I'm looking for the associated training upgrade in that aspect. I'm probably looking to take that out rather than to add it in. So Honey Badger, any of the training upgrades works well for that, or any other ways to increase health. X-Force Recruit is another really good way to do this. Just give you that plus 1 health. 1 additional health for Honey Badger is very, very valuable, because then we can hit with First Aids, and we can heal those. So First Aids is another card I'm looking to run a lot. If we are running the training upgrades, I really do like Game Time here, so you get to heal and ready, which means that you get to activate Honey Badger again, which means you get to activate X-23 again. I mean, it's really fun to build around Honey Badger, even though it is not necessary for her to be good. Let's talk about the aspects here. So she's really good in every single one of these aspects. She does not have a bad aspect. And so when I'm saying these aspects are in terms of least good to best in, just kind of understand that they're all really good. Leadership, which is also my favorite aspect to play for her, is in 4th place. And the reason I think that this is in 4th place is that she has a lot of upgrades for Honey Badger, and kind of the way that I like to run leadership with X-23 is to Voltron Honey Badger with all the targets, with all the upgrades, reinforced suits, ways to increase Honey Badger's health. Now, it does stink if you lose Honey Badger to your obligation, because then you're going to lose all your upgrades and you have to re-Voltron yourself. But if you run Honey Badger alongside like an Iron Man Voltron, that's a really fun combo right there. It's the other aspects are just better. I mean, it's not bad. I will also say that leadership has call for backup and make the call, so other ways to get Honey Badger into play without needing to just draw her or use your sisterhood support to do so. In third place, we have aggression. She can rush really well, and red works well for the rush, but I really want to talk about Quick Strike here. So Quick Strike, I love the design of Quick Strike, and I like to try and optimize Quick Strike, which is a 2-cost card that says deal damage to an enemy equal to your attack. In red, she can easily get to 6 attack, so 5 in her kit plus combat training gets her to 6, and that hits the efficiency that we're looking for the 2-cost event. And if you run specialized training, you can get that to 7 each round. And so that's just like a fun way to play. Aggression kind of already piles on to what she's really good at, which is throwing damage, which is why these next two are even better. And in second place, we have Justice. Justice, I think the first thing I want to say about Justice is she can thwart really well with her animal instincts. However, if you can use Justice to offset the thwarting, and you don't need to use her basic activation to thwart, you can use her basic activation for damage, which means that you just get more damage and Justice just works a little bit better. So I think that's probably the best reason to run Justice, but it also helps you with Confuse and Upside the Head. Upside the Head is a newer card for us. It states that whenever you make a basic attack and you damage an enemy, which you're going to be doing, you have piercing, it's going to happen, you can confuse the attacked enemy, or if they're already confused, you can stun them. And this is also fun because you compare it with Float Like a Butterfly. So every single time you make an attack, or a card attacks a confused enemy, you increase that damage by 1. So because we have so many readies, Float is going to trigger really, really frequently. Now, I think that Justice is in the second place because of the thwarting offsetting her need to use her basic activation to manage threat. And Floats is a little slow for what she wants to do, especially in solo. I just wanted to mention it because it's so much fun. But her best aspect is protection. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but I've already alluded to it a little bit earlier. Counterpunch. Claws until the end of the round gives you that +2 benefit. The Claw Mastery until the end of the round. And since we're defending every single turn, we effectively get that free defend. This Counterpunch can be a 0 for 5, which is incredibly efficient. If we throw Repurpose into the equation here, now we get more readies, and so we can activate her huge attack even more frequently, but that Repurpose benefit also stays until the end of the round. And so if we repurpose an energy barrier, we're looking at 7, and now our counter punches are doing 7. Honestly, this kind of rushes better than aggression if you draw it into it right, but yeah. There are other ways to ready in green with like What Doesn't Kill Me. It also heals, and that's the other reason that protection is so very good with Laura, is that you can heal yourself or Honey Badger, keeping them both on the table, keeping them both alive and healthy, and let them do what they do best, which is winning. So the community, I put out a community poll, and if you have missed these before, it's on my community tab under my on my channel. Wow, I couldn't think of channel. It's on my channel, or sometimes I think it pops up sometimes on the front page of YouTube, but you can go in and vote. And before I do these videos, every single time I ask the community where they rank them, what their favorite, all of this kind of stuff. So if you want to participate, I invite you to do so. They ranked aggression on top, and the rest kind of following, kind of very similar. And I can see aggression being on top. I think aggression in a multiplayer game is one of her better aspects. And I mean, yeah, I can't, it's hard to argue saying aggression is not her best, because it is very, very good. They ranked her as a tier, and it kind of skewed to the S tier, so it's a little bit in between there. I'm going to agree. I'm going to rank her as a high A tier between, and I'm going to drop her right in between Cyclops and Angel. She is incredibly solid. The initial read through the article, I thought that she was going to be reliant on Honey Badger to thrive, but she really doesn't. X-23 is so good even if Honey Badger never hits the table. And when Honey Badger does get onto the table, she gets even better. Pain Tolerance is an incredible card that helps you feel way more comfortable taking damage with her claws, Grim Resolves, taking some of those villain attacks with the defend of 2, and with her tiny cost curve, you're going to be able to play a ton of her cards, which Pain Tolerance is going to be able to heal her, and health was not as big of an issue as I was thinking. You can skew that cost curve up, have some really interesting high impact cards, or you can keep it low and play a ton of cards and be really, really flexible. She is fun. X-23 is a lot of fun. I think that she's going to have a little bit more staying power than her release counterpart, which is Deadpool. I had a lot of fun with Deadpool. I enjoyed Deadpool way more than I thought I was. And at the time of this video, I still think I enjoy Deadpool a little bit more. But after playing X-23 a good bit, I really like X-23. And I think X-23 is going to be one of those longer term heroes that we're just going to enjoy more and more as we still go on in this game and have more cards. But a lot of fun. Love X-23. She's very, very good. Let's talk about multiplayer. I have not played her much in multiplayer, but I think she's going to really thrive in her minion clearing abilities. She gets a ton of readies. She has that 3 to 5 attack, which is almost perfect for just slaying minions. And with multiple readies, she can kind of just clear minions, run Hall of Heroes, have a good time. She can clean up the villain, or she can clean up the table, and then she can easily shift into like a villain damage when the team's ready to go phase. She's really flexible, and while Minion Slayer is a really good like role for her, I do think that because of her low cost curve, you can really build her to fit any number of roles that the table needs. So if you need a thwarter, she can thwart for like 7 pretty easily, and then Overwatch 14, she's good. She's really good. So I'm curious, especially what you think of her. Do you like her in solo? Have you played her in multiplayer? Let me know how she works in multiplayer. I've played only a couple of games with her in multiplayer, but so I do want to hear more about her in multiplayer. But thank you so very much for watching. I'm looking forward to talking with you all about X-23, and we got a little bit of a break before our next big release, so I know I have a couple of these videos that are we're still waiting on. I think we have Vision and, oh my gosh, I don't even remember. That's not good. Nebula. Yeah, Vision and Nebula. So those are the next ones that we're going to be working on, but then we're going to revamp this series for some of the older heroes that we have yet to cover. Again, thank you so very much for hanging out. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you around. Peace.